Saw this question and answer posted online recently. I'm in my late 70s. How should I invest? And guys, I disagreed. I disagree with how the author answered this. I'm going to share that and what to do instead. That and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. How you invest when you're about to retire, in retirement, one of the biggest financial decisions that you're going to make in your life, truly, because oftentimes we hear about stay the course and got to ride through the ups and downs, and we think that applies during our working career while we are accumulating dollars. But really, that in the right, wise, prudent investing approach is just as important, if not more important, during those crucial golden years. Why? Because you're drawing dollars out. You need dollars to last a certain time period. We don't know how long, and you're withdrawing dollars, and that just makes that allocation, your investment decisions, that much more sensitive and important. So of course, saw this question and then the answer and thought, okay, well, let me see what the approach is. Let me see the angle. And guys, I disagree. I disagree. They answered it in two different ways, and I disagree with the answers. And with such a crucial financial decision, I want to share with you a better approach instead. So simple question. I'm 79 years old. How should I invest? In first paragraph, retirees should typically hold at least 5, if not 10 years worth of living expenses in a combination of cash or high quality bonds. That's close. I disagree. As close, I disagree, and here's why. It goes on to say that when you're at that age, you really don't want to stomach the ups and downs of the market. Well, who says, right? That's up to you. And you might say, no, I don't want the ups and downs of the market, and that's fine. However, I wouldn't just say or assume that everyone at this stage of life shouldn't be withstanding the ups and downs of the market. Very clearly, why? Because right now, this question and answer was written at the beginning of 2025. If this person's 79 years old, that means 3 years ago, they were still in their late 70s. And 3 years ago to right now, how have those bonds done? Right? If it's just thought, oh, well, stocks are risky. Bonds can be risky too. They absolutely can be. And therefore, I just disagree with the premise of this first answer. And then the second approach at an answer was a rule of thumb, which I'm not a big fan of either, but just says, listen, as you get later in life, you just shouldn't have a lot of stocks. A simple equation, take your age and subtract it from 110, and that's the percentage that you should have in stocks. And therefore, this says someone in their late 70s should have maybe a third of their portfolio in the stock market. And maybe that's the right percentage for you, but not because of a rule of thumb. And I'll give you a quick example. This is a real life example. But pretend that you're in your late 70s. Typically in retirement, we all go through a few different stages, and it's not like clear and really cut and dry, but we all tend to go through these stages, the go-go years of retirement, where you're bucket listing and you're doing a lot of things, and hopefully you can afford to do so and all that sort of stuff. And then kind of the slow-go years of retirement, that kind of morphs into, well, we don't want to travel as much, and it's harder to get around, and there's not as much that we want to spend money on. And then the no-go years, where you're really not that active at all. And so say that by the time you're in your late 70s, you're starting to get those slow go years. You're not as active as much. Maybe you're not to no go, but things are slowing down. Well, if you've got, let's say, $1 million still saved up by then, and you're only drawing out $1,000 a month, it wouldn't be prudent to have 2/3 of your portfolio capped on its growth if you're only withdrawing just a little bit. Especially again, if your risk tolerance and comfort level is, well, this money is really long term, and because we don't need it in the short term, and therefore we could invest more. But this rule of thumb is painting you in the corner and say, nah, you really can't. Here's the point. The question, again, one of the most important financial decisions you're going to make, how should you invest at retirement, in retirement, throughout retirement shouldn't be based on a rule of thumb. It's based on your specific financial situation, your unique financial situation. So what's a different approach? What's a better approach? We call it the personal pension plan. And this is sort of builds off of that first answer, but not just sort of painting everything really, really straightforward. It starts with taking a look and say, well, how much are you drawing out of your portfolio? And let's have this said 5 to 10 years worth in short-term instruments. That doesn't seem prudent, personally. I would have 2 to 3 years worth of what you're drawing out. I would have 2 to 3 years worth of that, and very short-term high-yield money market, CDs, maybe fixed investment of some sort, where you know how much interest you're getting, and you can trust that each year you've got a chunk of dollars kind of maturing and really predictable. Capital preservation, sorry for the jargon there, that you can rely upon to meet those income needs. So 2 to 3 years of short-term dollars invested in short-term instruments. Then another 3 to 5 years of that spending in intermediate term. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily call those bonds. It might be a stock bond mix. It might be a hedging strategy that has some floors to it where you can participate in the upside, maybe up to a certain limit, but you've got some downside protection, something like that. Another 3 to 5 years or so there. After that, the rest of your dollars really aren't needing to be touched for the long term. And therefore, they should be fighting the long-term risk, and that is inflation. If you are comfortable with taking a little bit more risk and seeing those dollars move up and down more, then those long-term dollars should be heavily weighted, more weighted to stocks as opposed to bonds. Maybe you feel comfortable 80-20 and that long-term portfolio, that long-term bucket. Maybe you are more nervous about the markets and that those long-term dollars should be more 50-50. But it really depends on your specific situation. In that personal pension plan then, you've got a bucket of dollars for the short term, and they're invested in short-term instruments. You've got another bucket of dollars, a second bucket, that's more for the intermediate term. And then between the two, that should get you around 8 years, and therefore the rest of the dollars can be invested at your risk tolerance for the long term. Most people, even in their late 70s, that gets them, 50-50 between stocks and bonds. But what's more important than that overall allocation is the structure of those dollars so that you have confidence where your income's coming from, and that where your income's coming from is coming from the right source. So the answer is specific to you. And working with your certified financial planner, you'll be able to do that math. You'll figure out, okay, well, what's the right ingredients? What are the right components for your specific situation so that you're taking the right risk for you, but also that you've got clarity as to where those dollars are coming, where your income is coming from, and that they're allocated appropriately. So work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@Korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.